Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I am Al Richards, your host, and I am here with the lovely Janessa.
Hello.
Again, it's always a pleasure having you in the studio.
It's my favorite part of the week.
Yeah,
I love this.
mine too. Every Thursday is my therapy.
Yep.
It really is.
I love it.
We get some really amazing guests on the show, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're going to have another one today, that's for sure. Hey, before we get started on the show, we just want to say thank you to our platinum sponsor, Matter Behavioral Health, out of Mount Pleasant, Utah, 265 State Street. Guys, if you're looking for a different type of recovery center, these guys do things totally different than a lot of the other recovery centers. They go within. They start finding out the cuts and bruises that you're holding inside, and they also teach you how to train your brain to start thinking differently. So
really awesome.
This is a very, very a good rehab to be a part of. And I don't know, it may be a fit for you, it may not. But if you'd like to ask them questions, please give them a call at 435-462-2781. That's 435-462-2781. Hey, we got another incredible guest that has come on the show today. We have Adriane Dailey. Adriane, thank you so much for taking time out of your, I guess, late afternoon, because you're in Canada, to be here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I was really looking forward to this.
Now, I'm trying to remember. Oh, so it was Boyd Peterson. You was on Boyd's show, huh? And he reached out to me and said, hey, you've got to reach out to this gal. She's got an incredible story.
Mm-hmm.
So yes. Now I remember, because sometimes I get introduced to so many people, I forget. But it was Boyd. So I'm very grateful to Boyd for connecting us, because you and I got on a Zoom call and started chatting. I think we ended up being on the call for like 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. Well, tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself.
So I'm from Canada. I am 37. I've been sober for just over 9 years. And I recently started a business in January to help other people do the same. Yeah.
And what's the business name?
Mind Aligned Hypnosis.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd actually considered taking hypnosis out of the name, maybe because it's just working with the subconscious, because that's where our problems are, but it's not really the typical idea of hypnosis that we have.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, we can get into that later, I guess.
Okay. Well, if I remember right, when we were talking, I think I showed you that book. Didn't I show you this book for you to check out? Yeah. So that's Matter Behavioral. So Janie Marvin is the one that started Matter Behavioral, and there are platinum sponsors. But yeah, we actually visited with them at their, just purchased a new recovery center down there in St. George, and we stopped by to see their new facility. They've got a lot of work still to kind of get it where it needs to be. But yeah, even Whitney, I should even text you over Whitney's phone number for you to reach out to her, because that gal is just so intelligent. Maybe you can pick her brain a little bit on some stuff. It'd probably be a good resource for you.
Absolutely. I would love that.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Oh, any recovery that integrates the subconscious, I'm just like, there's success there for sure.
Okay. Well, I've got Whitney's name down right here. So I will make sure that after the show or during the break, I will text. Well, I think I have your number, but I will text you her information so you can reach out. And if you just say, hey, I was on Al's show, or not really Al's show, because it's really your show, but on the other side of addiction. And yeah, pick her brain. She's an incredible young woman. We just love the heck out of her.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, I would love that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. We'll make sure that happens. So tell us a little bit more about your life story. I mean, a lot of people come on the show, got into addiction at a very young age. They had some kind of trauma happen to them, maybe whether it was divorce or sexual abuse or physical abuse, or could be divorce. Of course, that's not at a young age, but just a lot of different things. As a matter of fact, we were just talking about a guest that was on our show who lives in New Jersey, and she experienced her first overdose in 6th grade.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what we
So,
said.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Holy cow.
Wow. Yeah. Unbelievable. My story started when I was about, well, the drinking, I think about 14. When I was introduced to it, I liked it right away. And my parents are divorced. And even as I have, like, over the years, I always thought that I was just an insecure kid, so the alcohol was an easy way to give me that security. And it made me feel good. And I could drink more than other people. And, I got a bit of a reputation for that. And I just felt like I was more sociable. But when I was young, I had two very different households. So one was very strict with a stepfather that would have massive tantrums, like no physical abuse, but really I was scared, and I walked along eggshells when I lived at that home. And then over at my dad's, it was much more laid back. So I feel like I had a huge problem with authority. I was a very people pleasing, for that fear of getting in trouble. But I also I didn't really know who I was, because I was, from a very young age, I felt like I had to be a different kid from one week to the next. And I moved back and forth from houses until I was 18 years old, because I could not be honest with my mom and tell her that I didn't want to live there. Like, it was just a people pleasing. So I just did that until I went away to college. And by then, I mean, the drinking, as soon as I went away, it got worse. But it seemed like, because I was at college, it was just a college thing. It was like, okay, well, I'm just drinking. This is what we do, but if I bought a 40 of hard liquor, it would be gone in a couple days, and then I wasn't a daily drinker at that point, but every time we drank, like, I would just get obliterated, and I was ending up in hospital sometimes, like just alcohol poisoning. I was putting myself in situations where I was getting drugged. So, but I really didn't still see it as a problem. I don't know. I justified it all the time. I lost friends very early because of my behavior, my drinking behavior. And it was just something I did. It made me feel better. There was such a purpose in it that I couldn't ever see socializing, going to parties, having sex, anything without alcohol. Like, it was my only, and I don't even think I really knew who I was without it. Like, I was just so uncomfortable.
So
And
basically that was your identity then, huh?
yeah, it was. And like, even if I would be drinking with, classmates on the weekend, and then I'd see them in school, I would just feel uncomfortable. Like, I couldn't socialize with guys, like, it just felt very insecure. And so when I graduated, and I started working in a bar when I was 21, and then things really amped up because we could drink. And then I also added cocaine to the mix. So I would drink a lot. And, you're having night after night where you're getting home at 6 or 7 a.m. and then doing it all over again.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of drinking behind the bar until I got there. And somehow, like, my boss, he would mention to me sometimes, like, why do you drink so much? And I'm like, I don't know, but he didn't stop it. Like, I was very sociable with my customers, and that was okay. I got in trouble by him sometimes because there was a time I passed it in the bathroom floor and then drove home, like, and things like that. And I worked there for 2 years, and it was just drinking and putting myself in really unsafe situations. I allowed myself to be used by men. I didn't feel like I was still like an ultimate people pleaser. So even if I was really hurting, and if I felt like I was being treated poorly or, just thrown to the side, I still wanted to make others feel better. I didn't have value. I guess I just really didn't.
Your value is in pleasing others.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had moved away to Whistler after that 2 years, BC, and I didn't ski once. I was there for a year, and my whole thing about I was just partying. I continued to party. I had about 4 jobs in that year. I started to lose jobs because of alcohol when I was about that age, about 23. I started to lose jobs because I would just, I started introducing it at work because and then once I introduced it at work and I was a certain level of sociable, it was hard for me to take it out of that situation and then have people notice me being quiet or, asking what's wrong or, things like that. I'd be like, well, now I have to drink at work, or you feel so terrible from the night before that it was like a necessity or else you'd be really sick. So I had to leave after a year because I was just drinking too much. I had no money and I couldn't hold a job. And that was the year when I came home and my mom said, like, you need to go to AA. I was like, okay. And I tried one meeting, maybe 2. I only remember one. And I wasn't ready. I was like, nope.
This sucks.
Yeah, like I'm not, they're talking about never drinking. That's crazy. Like absolutely not. I'll do it my own way.
Yeah.
And it was it was the very last year that was the worst, but those following 3 years were pretty bad. I managed to get another diploma in a 10-month fast track program. I don't remember a lot of it. I ended up, so I was living in London and I ended up in a student house with a woman so 3 of them were students that were 18, 19 years old. And then one of them was a woman who was my age. She was 24 and we had the exact same problems as each other. I also acted on an eating disorder. So, and she was the same. We both had eating disorders. We both were alcoholics and we just became codependents. And it was like, this was meant to be. Like, how does 2 people who are exactly the same find themselves in the student house?
Wow.
And we ended up moving in together the next year. And I pretended to go to school for a few months. I was going to go to university. I even had a boyfriend at the time where I would I'd stay over at his place and pretend that I had to go to school the next day. And I would end up just going back to the apartment and drinking with my roommate. And this facade went on for like a year.
He never caught on?
No, he would come over and I would have books out,
Wow.
I would like say, yeah, I had like this whole thing going. And he had a gambling problem and he saw the way I drank, but he didn't really do anything about it. He allowed me to behave in the way I did. And he thought I was going to school. So I had a bit of a responsibility in my life.
Yeah.
And I had this whole facade happening. And my friend at the time, her and we just had to, we would wake up every morning and we could barely make it to the liquor store. Like, we were so sick. And I can still remember the smell of the store that was right beside the liquor store, because we had to go into the liquor store and then go into the bathroom to take a few shots to make it home too, because like we were just so ill. And I remember there was one day when we were doing that, and I looked at her and I was like, when did this stop being fun? You know? And I think that it wasn't fun a long time before I even recognized that it wasn't fun. You know, I would, and then when you go on these massive benders, the fear of withdrawal would just keep the bender going.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And there was a few times we always detoxed at home, but there was a couple times that were really scary and that, you know, probably should have been in the hospital, but we had each other. So we just kind of like, we
When
kept it.
oh,
Sorry.
when you was doing the detox, did you have a little bit of liquor still there? Because I remember a lot of times when my wife would drink for 2, 3, 4 days in a row, and then she was out.
Mhm.
Of course, she really worked on me really hard to go get her something, you know, and she was using that. I'm going to die. If not, I'm going to go in withdrawals. I'm going to have seizures. I'm going to die. And of course, my head was confused because at first I didn't believe her. I just thought it was just a ploy. But then when I did find out that she could die,
Mhm.
then it was like, I'm in this spot. I don't want her to drink, but
Mhm.
yet,
She doesn't.
but if she doesn't, so do I go get something? So did you and your roommate have a little bit there still, even though you were detoxing?
Sometimes, if we were really serious about not drinking, like, and we were on drinking liquor, then we might go to the store and get a bottle of wine, like something that wasn't so harsh, because I knew
Mhm.
if we had liquor in the house, I would drink it all. Like there was no little bit happening. The couple times that were really unsafe, we didn't have any alcohol and we just couldn't afford it. Like we were stealing our groceries there for a while because we would spend everything that we had on alcohol.
Hmm.
So there were some times that we had to do it without, and you know, that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife's here in the studio and I can see her at the corner of my eye and she's just like shaking her head because she knows exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Because that's what really started getting me upset when the family and people started realizing she couldn't have money, because if she had money, she was going to the store to buy liquor,
Mhm.
to where she was still coming up with it. And when I found out she was literally going to the liquor store and shoplifting, I was
Mhm.
like, how the hell are you getting away with this? And I don't know what it's like in Canada, but here in Utah, all our liquor stores are state owned. And
Okay.
the state doesn't like you stealing from them, you
No.
know? So she could have gotten some really deep crap if they would have caught her. But I just
Absolutely.
remember her that it was that bad for her. It's almost kind of like those who battle with addiction. They're willing to go steal and
Mhm.
rob just so they can feed that addiction.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh yeah. And um I want my friend, she had stolen from the liquor store here before. I never needed to. Um I was always able to scrounge up a few bucks, or it was that I was, you know, facing a detox. It would be like, okay, well, this is the time that I have to detox. So, you know, I didn't put myself in that situation. We almost got caught for the stealing the groceries, stealing the food. But I could always justify that, right? I was like, I've
Yeah.
never been someone to steal from people directly. I'm like, these are big businesses. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know,
They
I
can
need my
deal, they
living.
can
Yeah.
handle it.
Yeah. They throw out a ton of food. They're okay with my, like, you know, $70 or whatever
Yeah.
I'm stealing here. Um, but yeah, so we usually, like, if I was actually trying a safe detox, it would just be going down to like a wine or a beer or something like that. Um, but I couldn't hold it. I mean, as soon as I had money to get liquor, then I would just go back, you know, the detoxing. Like I remember I fell every bottom that people would see were like, you know, you need to get some help, I would just have to make an excuse for, like, I fell down the stairs and I broke my jaw,
Oh,
my
geez.
gosh.
and I hit my full body weight on my face, like my chin. And so
Oh my gosh.
and it was right on the tile floor. Like, I don't know how I didn't break my neck. It was
This is
probably because
awful.
I was so loose, like when I fell,
Yeah.
and I broke my jaw. I actually walked around with it broken for 3 days. I just,
3 days. Oh my gosh.
yeah, like I was still drinking, and I just thought there was broken teeth in the back from when I fell. So I just thought that I couldn't really chew because my teeth were a bit messed up. And then when I went to get my teeth fixed 3 days later, the guy was like, you got to go and get your jaw fixed
Your
first, and
stuff's
then we'll
broken.
fix your teeth. And at that point, people are saying, like, okay, this is your bottom, you know? And
Yeah.
I'm saying, well, I can't eat, but I can still drink. So no, it's not.
Justification. Yep.
Right? Like, what
Wow.
else am I going to do? I can't do anything. I'm going to be sitting at home and all I can do is drink. So yeah, that's not happening. But yeah, it was like until like I justified everything, you know, and I just couldn't see it. Yeah, there was a point, and I'm not sure when when I had gotten into AA. I called some hotline at some point. I was really drunk, and one day this woman showed up at the house. Like, I was living with the boyfriend at the time, because my friend and I there had to break our lease, obviously, because we would just sit there and drink all day and we didn't have any money. So I moved in with this guy, and that obviously is going terribly. And I don't know what happened, but there was a woman that showed up at the door one day and was like, you know, come with me to a meeting. I guess I had called somebody.
You don't remember?
No, I don't remember. But and that was when I was 24. Or no, I'm sorry, 26, that she showed up. But I had all of these signs. Like, I remember I was coming home, like one night, I had met somebody in an AA meeting. We ended up being drinking buddies. And then I passed out and hit my head at her place. The ambulance had to come and everything. I woke up in the hospital, and this was like, and then I'm like, okay, get me out of here. Like, I'm fine. So I left the hospital. I'm wearing the hospital clothes and everything. And I walked into a bar on the way home. I
Oh,
didn't know.
jeez.
Yeah, right. I was like, I walk into a bar and I just sit down with a bunch of people who are drinking, and I just join their
In
party.
your hospital gown.
Yeah. And I'm like drinking with them all night. And then I slept at their place, and I got to drive home the next day. And when I got home to the guy's place that I was living, there's police outside, and he's waiting for me there. And I asked the guy who was driving me home to stop at the liquor store, because I knew I was going to need something. I've been, starting to not feel good. And I get out of the car, and the cop is like, I think you should really put that down. I don't know why he was there. I don't know, whatever. And I just looked at him and I was like, I can't, like, leave me alone. I've got to go do this. Yeah. So there was lots of bottoms happening, and I just couldn't get it. I couldn't see my life without it.
And it's really crazy because we have two shows, and the show earlier that we had, the gentleman that we had on said he thought his life had hit rock bottom, and then he found out there was another bottom. Mm-hmm. And you just said that pretty much yourself. How many bottoms do you have to hit before you start realizing? And sometimes I just sit here and imagine, it's like, because there was times where I really thought my wife hit rock bottom. Mm-hmm. And then a month or two down the road, I'm like, Oh, hell no.
Nope.
She hasn't hit it yet, you know. Maybe she hit and then bounced up a little bit, but she's going to go a little further next time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's kind of ironic that you even said that, you know, that you've hit many bottoms
Mhm.
and still not realizing.
And
That's
still
what-
not realizing. No,
Yeah.
I remember I had this job at a, a restaurant, and this was close to the end because the last year when I was like, okay, I'm actually going to try to stop drinking, I ended up in detox 4 times. Um, and I remember I was at this, I had this little job at this restaurant, and this guy walked in the door and he had one arm and he had Listerine hanging out of his back pocket, and he had track marks all up the arm that he had, and it really freaked me out. And 2 weeks later I was in the same detox as he was. I was housemates with him, but I couldn't see it. I was like no, like I'm different. Like I just, every bottom that I hit, it was like there was always another one. Like I couldn't believe it, but I could always justify it. Like I had this one, when they talk about the insanity, how alcohol can actually make you insane. My dad had picked me up from London just so I could dry out. He just showed up at the house and put me in the car and brought me home for a couple of nights. And the next day I was really hungover. We were walking downtown, and we had to cross over this bridge. And I didn't know if I could stop myself from jumping off the bridge. Like there was something in my mind that was pulling me towards it, where it was like, I have no control whether my body goes off this bridge. And the only thing I kept saying to myself, I was like, my dad is here, my dad is here, my dad is here. Like, I can't do that to him. I can't do that to him. And I was just looking like towards the street the whole time instead of that. But it was this really weird, like, and I don't know if some people who experience suicide when they're going through this, if that is a feeling that some of them have, because like I couldn't control it. It was like something in the brain was just, it was like a different, I don't know, it's very hard to describe, but I felt like when people talk about the insanity, I remember that day because I was like, I felt insane.
That would be so scary.
That would be
Yeah.
extremely scary. Yeah.
Yeah. And just like my dad being there, like, could you imagine? Like, but then again, as soon as he dropped me back off in London, I was back to my behavior. Fortunately, in my stints at detox, they got me into a treatment center. So I did a 30-day treatment. But still then I thought I was just learning how to control my drinking. It didn't occur to me that I was never going to be able to drink again. And the day that I got out, I relapsed. I watched my mom pull out of the driveway and I dropped my bags and I walked to the liquor store.
Wow.
And I convinced myself in the store, I was like, well, I've been dry for 30 days. I'm just going to buy a little bottle so I can have a couple of drinks. But then within seconds, I convinced myself, no, since I'm good with alcohol, I'm going to grab myself the 40 because then I'll have it for longer, right? That sounds
Yeah, that's
Makes
logical.
logical. Then I don't have to come back here, They
Yeah.
already know me by name. They don't need to see me much more. And then that bottle was done in a couple of days. Like I was just right back at it. I couldn't and then fortunately, at some point when that woman had showed up and she had introduced me back into AA, I had gotten a sponsor, and the sponsor that I had at that time eventually got me into, so that was March, and the sponsor got me into sober living in September. And that's where I finally got sober. I was in the sober living. And I relapsed 3 times there before I got it. And it's like, no, right? Like you have to be straight. And I still thought that I was just trying to control it. And I got arrested one of my relapses for public intoxication at like 3 p.m. in a grocery store, like just like, what are you doing?
Wow.
And it was like, I just finally got it there 3 months in. So in January, my sober date is January 1st, 2013. And it's just a coincidence that it's New Year's Day. I mean, I snuck out and drank at the boyfriend at the time's on the 30th. And I snuck a tall boy of beer back in because I knew I was going to feel a little bit shitty the next day. So I drank the tall boy in the shower at the sober house and then took the garbage out. And that was my last drink. And
Wow.
It just happened to be on the 31st of December. So my sober date's the 1st. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Man, that's a hell of a journey. And it started at 14. So basically you was 26, 27 about that time, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. I mean, I feel I had something wrong before. Like I don't know if I started acting on the eating disorder first. I was about 17 or 18 before the really heavy drinking set in. Like I knew I liked the drinking right away, but then that set in, and then the drinking was also not great for me to socialize, but it covered up all of that too. Like I just felt the eating disorder was an attempt to look a certain way to appease. I just wanted to be skinny for some reason. And sometimes it felt easier to be that sick in alcohol than it was to have the negative self-talk that I had about myself when I wasn't drunk.
Yeah.
So even when people would look at it from the outside and like see this really drunk girl all the time, it was somehow soothing to me to be in that state, because I didn't have to listen to my mind.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Well, let's take it's actually been a little over a half hour already, believe it or not.
Wow.
So yeah, let's just take this time. We'll take a quick commercial break, guys. Stay with us and we'll be right back.
Sure.
Have you ever been in a car accident? Do you know what to do after being in a car accident? Are the insurance companies going to take care of you? Hi, I'm attorney Rick Heaton with the Law Office of Bobby Udall. I will help you through the process and answer all of these questions. I give every single client my cell phone so they can talk to me whenever they need. Let me deal with the insurance company so you can focus on getting better from your injuries. Call me at 385-330-0226. Again, my cell phone number, 385-330-0226. Don't call the insurance company first. Call attorney Rick Heaton at 385-330-0226.
This is Gregory, owner of Lift Up Concrete, proudly serving the Wasatch Front for the last 12 years, lifting sunken flatwork for both residential and commercial applications. Only fully trained professionals lifting concrete at your residence with the same quality of material and method used at every commercial job we ever do. Don't replace it, lift it. liftupconcrete.net, 801-792-4535. Contact us at liftupconcrete.net, or if you're looking for a complimentary quote, 801-792-4535. Again, 801-792-4535. Again, this is Gregory, Lift Up Concrete Lifting.
Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Talk Network. You can listen to my show, Resilience, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. On my show, we will be discussing what it takes for you to overcome the day-to-day challenges that all of us face in life, as well as some of the devastating ones that may lead us to feelings of hopelessness and despair. It's my goal to provide you with the tools and skills that you need to overcome anything that is thrown your way. To find out more about my show, visit our website at www.resiliencetalk.com. That's www.resiliencetalk.com. And as always, until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the other side of addiction. Again, we want to say thank you to our platinum sponsor, Matter Behavioral Health out of Mount Pleasant, Utah. Guys, give them a call. Again, they are totally different when it comes to recovery. So give them a call, ask them some questions. Everybody that you talk to over there will treat you like you're $1 million. It's just, that's how everyone is there. And we've been very blessed to meet a lot of people from Matter and just love them all. So give them a call at 435-462-2781. Wow. Adriane, this has been really, really cool. Both Janessa and I mean, I think you mentioned it earlier. We love being here. We love hearing these stories. I don't know if I mentioned to you when you and I was doing the Zoom call, but I was a guest on a podcast and the gal was asking me if I went to therapy, and I'm like, yeah, every Thursday when I do my shows, because it is so therapeutic for me, because I get to understand addiction a lot more. You know, my wife's addiction was different than Janessa's husband's addiction, but an addiction is an addiction. The brain works the exact same way. It doesn't matter if it's drugs, alcohol, sex, pornography, gambling, gaming. It doesn't matter. It seems to all work in the same way. But you said there, December 31st, 2012, you drank your very last beer in the shower.
Yes.
And after that, you're like, this is it. And from what I've learned from other addicts that we've had on the show, I bet that was even probably a very, very scary moment for you, because you have been doing it since the age of 14. And it's like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to socialize? Where's life going to take me? I mean, did those thoughts, that self-talk, start coming into wondering those things?
Oh yeah. Like I still felt, so after that drink, I'm not really sure if I knew that was going to be the last one. Like I still feel like I had some reservations. But I was open to the idea now of not being able to drink, just from seeing like what had ensued. And even when I was in an environment where there was zero tolerance, those rules didn't apply to my addiction, right? But this was my last chance. So I remember I really kind of white knuckled it for sure for that month, January. I felt, I'm not really sure where I let go of the boyfriend, but I definitely let go of him at some point, because I'd go over there and he would drink. And I remember one day I stood up and I walked out and I never saw him again. I didn't talk to him. There was just,
oh, wow. You just boogied.
I just left. I was like, don't call me anymore. Bye. I've got to do me. Yeah. And that was sometime, that was a bit further into, that might've been in April. Cause I remember I had this experience so after January, I had I was really white knuckling it. And I remember this was sometime around Valentine's Day or maybe after. And I was over at his place and I was sitting on the couch and I had these two like tinfoil wrappers from chocolates in my hand. One was pink and one was purple. I was rolling them in my hand and I all of a sudden got this really weird feeling. And I looked down at my hand and it was like the pink one was in the shape of a heart and the purple was around the pink one. It was just like this weird, like mold that had just come, and I looked at my hand and I was like, and then I got this feeling like this. It was almost like a mini spiritual experience, like this flood of like energy throughout my body. And like I reached over and like touched them and there was a spark. Like I had this like electric thing happening. And I just looked at him. I was like, okay, I gotta go home. Like, I just don't feel like being here right now. And I left the house and I was walking down the street and it was like I was floating. Like it was the weirdest feeling. It was just like I felt love from something. You know, I just felt really like this crazy natural high that I had never felt before. And I think there was a shift. Like I try to think of when did my obsession for the alcohol leave? And I remember that was a very profound experience for me. And it could have been around that time. Because I don't know how long after I was at the sober house that I was just there because I felt like, you know, you were allowed to be there for a year. And my brain had just kind of said that I'm going to be here for a year. So I wasn't sure if I, what was I saying? Sorry. So I wasn't sure if I was just there because my mind had told me that, or if I was there because I really needed to be there, because I had actually gotten a suspension for smoking a little marijuana with my roommate. And when I was on that suspension for 2 weeks, I realized I was okay. I was like, this alcohol, it's okay. Like once I was out and into the public, back home, I was like, this is okay. I'm not, I don't need to go back. And that was at the 8-month mark. Or I went back for a couple of weeks and then I packed my stuff and I left. But the obsession was just gone. Like I recognized, and once I was out of that environment, I could be around it. I could, it just wasn't something that I wanted. And then I tried to think of when that obsession left. And I think, and it might have been around that time where I had that experience, that any sort of obsession left. So it was pretty early on that I was very fortunate to experience that, because then I didn't have to really worry about being around it, right? Because I know that a lot of people have to avoid a lot of places and that kind of thing. But fortunately, it was like the obsession was like taken.
I'm just so drawn in about those two wrappers.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, how you're just playing around with them in your hand and then you look down and here it is shaped as a heart.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, too, you got a certain spark out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that's like, I would say if that happened to me, I'm like, this is my spiritual awakening right here. There's something greater than me making this happen right now.
It was, and I've had that feeling that has happened a couple of times. Not so long ago, was about 2 years ago. I was running through a park with my dog, and I dropped into this feeling of, it's like bliss. You can't describe it as anything else. It's this. Your ego isn't there. You feel light. You feel like it's just like love, I think is what unconditional love would feel like. unfortunately, when our mind starts to grab onto it, like, I want this feeling to stay, it slowly goes away. But I remember that first time that happened there, it was like it lasted for, it was probably, I was feeling it. I remember when I was walking down the street, it was cold out, it was winter, and it didn't feel cold. Like I was just like, it was just fresh. And it was probably 15 minutes, I would say, that I was in that feeling of love. And that feeling has just, it's opened up a can of worms for me as to like, that is possible here, you know, that's here. That is like somewhere here. We live in a lot of fear with the way that the mind operates, with always living in the past and worrying and stress and all that. But out the other direction of that is just that what I would think would be that bliss is just like very fascinating feeling.
When you have a feeling like that, and I had something kind of like what you just said happen to me, and it was when I went on one of my hikes. It was very, very short-lived. It didn't go as long as yours did. And it was when my wife was in the depth of her addiction, and it was kind of an early spring hike. There's this place up one of our canyons. It's called Lake Blanche. It's around a little over 10 miles or so, something like that, round trip. And I started going up, and the snow started getting deep, and I didn't have snowshoes, and I didn't think I was going to make it, but something just kept telling me to go. And I just kept pushing. Then I'd go a little ways. Someone would say, you know, my brain is saying, no, you're not going to make it. You need to stop. I'm like, gosh, I'm getting so close. So I just keep going. Next thing I knew, I was there. You get on top here, the lake's completely frozen. The snow's, you know, covered everything. Usually all these rocks are exposed where people like to go, and they're like, they go off to an angle, and a lot of people go over and lay down on them, and you feel the sun and the nice, you know, mountain breeze, but there's nothing because it's all covered in snow. I found this little patch, and when I got on top there, no one was there. Nobody. I was the only one. And I had passed a couple people, you know, on my way up. They were coming down. But I remember sitting down, taking my backpack off to grab me something to eat, and I looked up across the lake over on the mountainside, and I just immediately started bawling. All I did was sit down, take my backpack off, and look across, and I just started crying. And I'm thinking, why the hell am I crying? And the breeze was blowing a little bit. And as I'm scanning across, just kind of eyeballing, all of a sudden it just went a complete calm, just dead ass silence, no breeze, no nothing. And as I'm kind of scanning to my right, it's like I felt this hand come down on my right shoulder. And it's like a brief second, probably not even like a half a second. It's like there was this figure standing to the right of me, all white, because everything else is white, but there was something there, and then it was gone. And then this voice kicked in my head and said, everything is going to be okay. And I'm like, I'm freaking losing it. I'm seriously losing it. And I sat there, probably just tears falling down my face, down my cheeks for 5-10 minutes. Finally kind of caught my composure, because I'm thinking, man, I hope no one comes up over here. Here's this man sitting on this little rock, and he's over there bawling, you know. But anyway, when I got down the canyon, and I finally got out of the canyon and I got phone service, I called a friend of mine, and I said, you're not going to believe what just happened. And my wife was in, excuse me, my wife was in rehab at the time. And it was, when she went in there, she was in pretty bad shape, because she had to do the detox first, of course, and then go in there. But I was telling her what had just happened, and she goes, you just had a spiritual experience. And I says, no, I think I was just imagining it. And she goes, no, you didn't imagine it. It literally happened to you. And it doesn't happen. She says, God or Jesus or somebody was coming down and telling you everything's going to be okay. And where you said you just felt that bliss, you know, during the run, and then also after the rapper thing.
Yeah.
That's almost, I don't know if it was like bliss for me, but it was just all of a sudden like this calmness just came over me. And what's so crazy, when I got up to leave to start coming down the mountain, the wind started blowing again.
Wow.
And I thought, this is one of the most craziest flipping things, but again, the subconscious mind was kicking in and I started questioning things, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just freaking out. I'm just just shoot me. I'm done, man. This stuff is really getting a hold of me, but it is a really, really cool feeling. And my wife has shared, when she was in jail for the last time and she was visited and had her experience, the feeling that she felt. And that is one of the most coolest feelings that you was describing, that I think every human should have an opportunity to feel.
Yeah. I had one a little more of the, like when you say the calm and the peace and stuff. I just had my last my son, he's 5. I just had him, he was a month old, and I just kicked my husband out of the house for the 100th time. I don't know.
That's what it seems like, huh?
Yeah, and I had my 2 other kids. The one was 2 and the other one was 4. So I feel like I had 3 babies. I'm by myself, I'm still trying to recover. I remember he's staying somewhere else and I'm in the house by myself, and I just was laying in bed, like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? By myself. I've got this newborn baby. And anyway, but it was the same thing. It was like this calm came over me and was like, you've got this. You're not alone. You'll be fine. He'll be fine. And it was just this peace. Like, and I guess that was probably one of the most, I don't know, spiritual experiences, in that you can be in such a horrible situation, but you can feel so much peace and calm and know that everything's going to be okay,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing.
It is. It's
And
such a blessing.
Yeah. It's like, wow, because that calm and that is not something that you created in that moment.
Oh, absolutely not.
No, that's something else, like outside of you, that has been gifted almost.
Yeah.
Like that it's going to be okay. And even if it's just if you experience a few seconds in your life, it's like, man, we aren't alone. There are other forces that are here for sure. And like, whatever that may be, it's very, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
We had a guy on the show, on our early show, that his awakening was so strong spiritually that he's actually going to school to be a pastor right now.
Really? Wow.
And did I say that right? Or is it I said a pastor. Okay. I would say pasture, like we're out grazing or something.
Yeah.
My wife's my English teacher. She's always corrected me. But he studies all types of different things. So he does stuff for like Buddhist stuff. He does Indian, like Native American. He does a lot of like the sweat lodges and stuff. And he thinks it's very important to bring it all in, not just pick one religion. He's bringing all this in because he thinks it's all very important. And I think that's the first person that I've ever spoken to or ever even met that just, what did he say? He just doesn't pick one brand. He's picking all the brands because he says it's all meant for the same thing. And I thought that was really cool that he was looking at it that way. And now he's going out there kind of like what yourself in a different way, but now he's going out there and helping other people.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. Well, I think that, because a lot of like what it is can only be our human interpretation, right? Whatever, when we give it names and we give it identities and those kind of things, that's just a very human thing to put on whatever that is.
Personalizes it.
Personalize,
yeah, for sure. But whatever it is, it's strong. It's pretty amazing. I had this one experience where I was when I was living in Whistler, my bedroom window didn't have a screen on it, and my bed was right beside the window, and I had it wide open. I was having this dream that I was this big moth, and I was flying over the mountains, and I could see myself sleeping in the window, and I came through as the moth and came and hit myself on the chest and woke up. And it was like I somehow had projected my consciousness into this moth that was flying, and it came in and woke me up, and there was this big moth flying around my bedroom. And I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I was like, and at the time I was like freaking out because there's this mass wood moth in my room.
Sounds like a B-57 flying around in the room.
Yeah, really. It was huge. It was like a coaster. And I was like, but then when that settled, I was like, wow, like that's amazing. Like it was like I was out there. So I don't know what was in my body. I wish I'd done something a little bit neater than just come and wake myself up. But
But that is still a really killer story. I mean, I love that. When you were saying it, both my arms were just, as chicken skin or goosebumps, whatever you want to call it. That was so cool.
Yeah. Some sort of message. So like that stuff is here, right? And I just think that's so fascinating. Like, yeah. And when we're going through hard times, like, the idea of just like, I don't know how many times because I wasn't much into prayer and things like that, but I would say, I'm just going to get down and say an intention, right? And I just felt that, like, I don't know if the result of that was the taking away the obsession of alcohol or what, because I know I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like if I had my way, I would have been, I would have drank myself to death. But it was like, I do feel like when we're putting intention out there, when we're praying or when we're talking to, there is something greater force than us that knows our lives.
Yeah. Do you feel like that if it wasn't for that to get you to stop, do you feel that you could have probably lost your life the way you was drinking probably by the age of 30, 35?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I had gone to the doctor and he tested my liver and everything. And at one point, after they looked at my jaw, they had to draw blood and everything. And they actually sent me to the liver transplant unit to talk to the doctor because of the state of my insides.
Wow.
And his advice was he asked me if I had ever considered living in a Muslim country. And he was serious.
Really?
And I was like, no. And he's like, well, they don't drink there. I'm like, okay, well, this isn't helpful.
Yeah. No kidding.
And honestly, if they don't drink there, I'd figure out a way how.
Yeah. Start making your own.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Like making this harder for me here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was already in pretty rough shape physically. So I know for sure. And when I was in the detoxes and I was just this kind of person, I was a chameleon. So I remember the counselors saying there to me that, they weren't worried about me being spit out by, the homeless groups and the really down and out. But they were worried that I would assimilate into the group because I was so I could get on with everybody. And I, no matter how low I went, I would find friends there. I was just, so I definitely think that I would have lost my life for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's such a tough thing because there are quite a few that don't make it through, that end up whatever it is that they're trying to cover up. It's just too much for them. And it's amazing also to see the ones that do dig themselves out of it how many of them are out there doing everything that they possibly can now to help other people, you know, and then, I don't know if I guess I just have to say it. I think God just picks these certain individuals and go, okay, you've made it this far. I'm going to help you the rest of the way. But this is what you got to do for me, and get out there and start helping other people. Cause the majority of people that I know that's in recovery, they're always out there volunteering and doing different things and helping people, or they're sponsoring people. And it's just an amazing thing. One of the questions that was asked of us yesterday during our video shoot of things that we feel blessed or grateful for. And the first thing that popped in my head, and I'm just talking not just life, but since we are doing this video for our summit that's all about addiction, I wanted to stay in that addiction type realm. And I'm like, man, I'm just grateful every week for the guests that we have on our show, you know, because I feel extremely blessed to be in front of somebody like yourself that has gone through. I mean, I thought I went through crap with my wife's addiction, but when you hear other people, what they've gone through, I mean, yeah, you're just scratching your head going, my gosh, if they can do it, anyone can do it, really, you know.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's always a reminder to me every time I hear stories like this, and you're like, what makes, you know, any of us different from those who have lost their lives or who are still in it and can't shake it? And I think, you know, like you said, sometimes God picks these individuals, but I think he knows our heart. He knows who we are, and he knows everybody like that. And so it's just a reminder to me, like, who are we to ever judge? Because everybody has that potential.
yeah,
We can't see what their heart is like, you know, because there's people I would just write off, you know, prejudge them and be like, oh, there's no way. But really, maybe in a few years, they're going to be like saving hundreds of people's lives, you know, doing stuff like this. So it just, I don't know.
yeah,
You can never, I don't know. Everybody has that potential.
yeah,
Everybody.
Absolutely.
yeah, because you never know. I mean, I don't know. I probably had half a dozen, maybe a little less, or maybe a little bit more, tell me, you just need to leave your wife. Yeah. And you had the same thing. I know you had the same thing with your husband. It's like, they're never going to get well. They're never going to get well. They're
just leave it.
You know, but for myself, and I think it was the same way with you, Janessa, that there's something that's inside of you telling you, stick it out, stick it out, stick it out. And it's like when I just shared my experience up in the mountains, when I had that voice say everything's going to be okay, and that calmness. I mean, even after that, and she got out of rehab and jumped right back on that hamster wheel, both of us did, and started going around freaking circles as fast as we could again, doing the same damn pattern we've done for years. And I'm thinking, man, I was told everything's going to be okay, you know, but as time went, yeah, everything is okay.
Yeah, you look back and you're like, wow, I was right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad I held on to that.
Yeah. And I bet, I mean, I just can't imagine how, oh God, what word am I looking for? I bet it was just a godsend too for your family. Cause there was so many times I literally thought I was going to lose my wife. I mean, I was preparing myself for the phone call. I was preparing myself for so many different things. And I'm sure it was hard on your mom and, your other family members, just watching you kind of dwindle away, and then all of a sudden to see where you're at now, the joy that they're feeling, I bet.
Yeah. My mom I don't know if I would have gotten sober if it wasn't for her, to be honest. She unintentionally enabled for a while, like she ended up going to Al-Anon. But when I didn't have rent, she would pay my rent, things like that. But she isn't a drinker, no drugs, no nothing. So I'm like a wild card, and she just loves her kids to death. So I have an older sister. So I remember just seeing when she picked me up one time at detox, and you could just tell her heart was broken, right? Like just
Yeah.
that she's looking at this person that just can't get it. My dad cut me off. He sent me an email and said, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear from you until you get better. He just couldn't watch it. And
That's
at the
so sad.
time when you're drinking, I'm like, fine, your loss, you know,
Yeah.
screw you. I'm, you know, and then, but she was just with me through the whole thing. You know, when I went to rehab, she showed up, she visited, and, you know, I really dragged her through the mud. I know she was sick a lot because of it. I had a lot of amends, but yeah, we don't see, like, it is such a selfish disease, you know, and even when we don't think we're directly affecting people, it's like, well, I wasn't in your life, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that, you know, I didn't steal from you, I didn't lie directly to your face. Like, it's like we don't see it, you know, how selfish the acts are, and especially the people around who love you. And it's like, well, I want them to get over it now. You know, I'm better. You know, they need to now meet me at my life and, you know, accept me back in their life or whatever. But there's a lot of times there's been so much damage that's been caused, that really just staying sober and being that person is the only way to mend the relationships. You know, there's been too many apologies.
Yeah.
There's been too many false words. It's just like,
It's a lot
no,
of time.
it takes time for a lot of people, you know, and that's understandable.
Mhm.
You know, when you come out from being in that whole selfish thing, it's like, well, now you can be a little bit selfish on working on yourself, but with the aim of being selfless,
Mhm.
you know?
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well put. Well, guys, let's stop for another quick commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap this thing up because we want to honor Adriane's time. So I know she has another show to stuff to do. So guys, stay with us and we'll be right back.
Good morning, this is Leticia with Computer Hospital. We are your computer repair experts for both PC and Mac. We are your community resource for all of your computer repair needs. What makes us different is that we want to fix your computer. We also do free diagnostics. We charge a flat rate labor, which means that you won't pay by the hour. All of our computer repair is done in-house with a fast turnaround time, and same-day service is also available. Feel free to stop by anytime without an appointment. We're located in Sandy at 8721 South State Street. Again, that's 8721 South State Street. Or call us at 801-987-3993. Again, that's 801-987-3993. This is Leticia with Computer Hospital, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Hello there, this is Brad Neufeld with the Resilience Talk Network, and I would like to introduce to you Taffytown, one of our newest sponsors. Let me introduce you to Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek from Taffytown. We're proud sponsors of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Taffytown is a family-owned and operated business still operating in the Salt Lake City area for over 100 years. We manufacture some of America's best saltwater taffy.
What makes Taffytown stand out from all of the others?
We have a unique recipe, a whipped style recipe that incorporates egg whites, evaporated milk, real sea salt. It's a unique product that is flavorful, melts in your mouth, and the best part is we probably have a flavor for anyone's liking, a flavor for any reason, for any season. We have unique flavors like chicken and waffles, maple bacon, frosted cupcake. New this year was a pineapple ghost pepper flavor.
That's awesome. Where can people find out more about Taffytown and all of its products?
You can check all of this stuff out. All of our products are available for sale on taffytown.com. We ship for free from our website, so all of our pricing on there is shipping included. Oftentimes we offer special promotions and discounts to our loyal customers, so do be sure to sign up for an account, and we look forward to seeing what we can do to make you smile with our taffy.
Where are you located?
We are currently located at 9813 South Prosperity Road in West Jordan, Utah, just at the foothills of the Copper Canyon mine.
Derek, taffy has always been a great gift to give. What are some of the creative ways Taffy Town can help say thank you to others?
Yeah, if you're looking for gift ideas, whether to say thank you to friends or family, or maybe to your clients after such a difficult or successful year that you've had, you could look no further than to get a gift idea from taffytown.com. We offer pre-packaged gift boxes that say that it's saltwater taffy from the city of the Great Salt Lake, and it tells a little bit about the history of our community and making candy for so long. You can also do customized gifts to pick out just the right flavors or colors of candy for that special someone, and deliver even a personalized message in that box to them. So please feel free to check out taffytown.com for any gift ideas this season.
Thank you so much, Derek. Please visit taffytown.com. That's taffytown.com to find out more about the products and services that Taffy Town offers. You won't be disappointed.
Do you know someone who's gambling with death due to an addiction? Do you know someone whose life is being turned upside down due to a loved one that's battling with addiction? Hi, I'm Al Richards. I am the host of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. I started the podcast due to my wife's battle with alcohol. Let's just say I became addicted to her addiction. Our podcast is helping people understand a little more about those who have battled addiction and those who are hurting from their addiction. Through raw vulnerability, we share stories that help uncover the root causes of addiction. Shame felt on both sides, matter of the conscious and subconscious mind, continued beliefs, and often confusing paths of recovery. We collaborate with real people and their stories, as well as licensed professionals, to help our audience gain a better understanding of addiction. You can find us on Resilience Talk Network. You can also find us on Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. That's Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. You can also find us on YouTube. Just look up the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Again, we're here with our special guest, Adriane Dailey. Adriane, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and being with us, and for being vulnerable and sharing your story. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. So now you have turned yourself into an entrepreneur, and you are off and running, doing some amazing things. So why don't you share with our listeners a little bit more about what you're doing, and also if someone's interested, how can they contact you?
So I do have a website. It is www.mindalignedhypnosis.com. I also, if you look up, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well, under Adriane Dailey. So I was doing developmental support work for the last few years, but going through such an extreme path, I always felt like I wanted to at some point work one-on-one and bring this forward. I'm like, there's no way I went through that and I'm just leaving it there. And then I discovered hypnotherapy, and I realized how much it was changing people, and how our beliefs, our problems are stuck in the subconscious mind. And that's where our solutions are. And when I was trying to get sober, I wasn't directed towards anything that dealt with my subconscious mind. And I was like, okay, we need to start doing this. So I trained in it, and I trained in rapid transformational therapy. And then advanced conversational hypnosis, and that's the method that I use with the clients. And like I said, it's only hypnosis to the extent that we are using the subconscious mind. So it's like a conscious conversation, but when we talk about our problems, we give a lot of conscious information and a tiny bit of subconscious. And it's all about pulling out that information because that's where the problem is. And our problems are very illogical, because if they were logical, we could just decide not to do something, right? And it wouldn't be a problem. But half of it, most of it, is stuck in the subconscious. So when you bring a problem forward consciously, it collapses because it doesn't make sense. It's based on some old belief that you don't believe in anymore because you're old enough to, have a different resource. So with this work, it does a great job at collapsing problems and opening up the mind to the infinite amount of resources that we now have as grown adults that better suit your current reality. So it's very fascinating work. I don't let my client go until we've had a breakthrough in the session. So my shortest session has been a half an hour and my longest about 2.5 hours. And we get to a place where they have, where problems have been collapsed. So at the end of the session, there's almost like this space in the mind. And there's a processing period that happens. Sometimes it happens that day, sometimes it's a couple days, or sometimes a couple weeks. And the mind processes what they need to process and brings in new resources so that they experience real change in their life. Yeah, it's really interesting. And I'm trying to educate because I'm like, we need more when someone's working the steps are great and we're working them, but they're deal with the conscious mind. But when we specifically want to resolve what's behind our own drinking, we have to resolve what got us there. And even though all of our behavior looks the same on the outside, every one of us got there a different way.
Yeah.
So it's and it's about collapsing those problems or those beliefs that are keeping us in the problem. I've had actually some of my best breakthroughs in the last couple of years since being introduced to hypnotherapy. All of that self-confidence stuff, that body confidence stuff that was there is gone, which is like amazing because that was really stuck. So yeah, I'm just like one person at a time trying to introduce this new method because it's really it's fascinating how it changes people very quickly. Yeah.
I love it because Colby, who works for Matter Behavioral, he was here doing a show a couple of months ago, and he was talking about the subconscious mind, how the subconscious mind doesn't know what's real or what's fake. So whatever you're telling it, as far as your subconscious mind is concerned, it's real. It's actually happening. And it sounds like you're like you said, you're taking that out of the equation when you're working with am I understanding it right? You're kind of taking that out of the equation, the subconscious. So you're taking the beliefs in a different, you're bringing it in a different way, right?
Yeah, like you're pulling the beliefs out of the subconscious because they're stuck in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the subconscious created beliefs when we were very young. Sometimes if you have a very emotionally traumatic thing that happens as adults, beliefs can change really quickly, but mostly it's from when we're really young. And the subconscious does not know you've grown up. So a lot of our reactions to things are actually responses of regression. You see someone freaking out at somebody in traffic, that's a regression. That's a very childlike response when you look back and watch it. Because the subconscious has no idea that now you're 30, 40, 50 years old. It still thinks you're 5 when you made up that belief.
And
right?
you want that sucker.
Yeah. And it's like, it's like when we get attached to things too and stuff, it's like, it's mine. like it's my parking space. It's like, it's very, right. It's very like this, like we do things that are a lot acts of regression. So it's about breaking down those beliefs that are keeping us in the problem as adults. Yeah.
Kind of
I
rewriting
love
it with your adult voice.
Yeah,
there you go.
exactly. Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good way of putting it, for sure.
Well, guys, I really wish we had more time, but we got to respect Adriane's time. Adriane, again, thank you so much for being here with us. And we just want to say thank you to all our other sponsors. We have a plethora of sponsors that are here that love what we're doing. Thank you to all our listeners, to our guest co-host, to all our guests. Adriane, again, man, hopefully when we start our live shows, I'm hoping that we have an opportunity to have you come back so you can talk more about your business, not really the addiction part, but talk more about, because I think what you do is very, very helpful for a lot of people. I mean, for it, and you don't have to have an addiction to even go through it. It's just everyday life. So
Anybody.
yeah. Okay. Well, Adriane, again, thank you, guys. Yeah, make sure you go in, share these episodes with a friend. Be sure that you hit like, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we're going to leave you with this, as we do with every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.